Is Blake Shapen the reason that Baylor football finished 6-6 this season? This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Baylor. Drake Toll alongside Cameron Stewart. Both of us work for Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears. Thank you for making Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day. I hope that's the case. I say that a lot. I hope that somebody right now is in their car.
Why wouldn't it be the case?
7:15 in the morning, and they've just plugged in Locked On Baylor, and they go, man, I haven't listened to anything yet today. And then, boop, they hit play. And that's that. That's the first listen every single day. And
totally muted out my kids, the baby crying, none of it.
Baby?
This is the first thing I heard today.
What baby? Cam, yesterday I made a case on the show that Baylor's football season was disappointing. The entire show was not me making the case that Baylor football season was disappointing, but instead me saying, hey, everyone, it's okay to say that it is disappointing. I mean, I tiptoed around it.
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it until I heard it.
As much as possible.
I was all about saying, you remember one win? You remember two wins?
Yep.
But then you said it was okay.
And then lo and behold, here come the fans. Oh, I remember 1-11. You think this is bad? It's this comparative game. It's a comparative game. You know what? You know what it is? It's every time when you were a child and you were like, yeah, Mom, I'd love to go to McDonald's. And she says no. And you're like, why not? She's like, well, there are kids in Africa starving. You're like, number one, most of Africa is civilized. So let's try to take that point away. Number two, all right. I mean, so we can't get McDonald's? We can't be upset at 6-6 because 1-11 happened? That just doesn't make sense. Why did 1-11 happen, and is it Blake Shapen's fault? Go.
Why did 1-11 happen? It's because they had like 70 guys on the roster. Probably Blake Shapen's fault. Probably Blake Shapen's fault.
He threw too high and too low and two receptions that
game. The 6-6, which I'm assuming is what you meant, is not Blake Shapen's fault. Now, is he totally free from blame?
People are they're unfollowing you on Twitter.
I know. They didn't like me. They didn't like me anyway. Let's be honest. But no. In fact, he's like the fifth or sixth biggest reason if we're doing the blame pie. To be totally honest with you, he wasn't great by no means.
No, probably not.
By some definitions, not even good. And I'm not really going to push back too far on you, but. No, not even close, bro. Not even close. I mean, I hate this excuse, but there's a ton of inexperience in the skill positions, especially. Yeah. I hate using that excuse 12 games into the season. I hate it. But that, I think, is a bigger part of this than Blake Shapen. The third down defense went to just downright horrible the last month of the season. Pretty bad. And look, I'm gonna unlock and go into the ethos of some of our biggest
unlock Baylor.
Unlock the key and go into the ethos of some of our biggest haters. I'll even put Jeff Grimes higher on the blame pie.
Wow.
I'm gonna do it to even it out today. And I don't think he was the number one biggest problem.
Top of the blame pie? He wasn't the whipped cream in the blame pie.
No, not the top of the blame pie. I will say, there's. Again, I've said this on the podcast before. There's a couple of games this season where I was sitting there, by no means this great football mind or anything, but thinking like, what the heck is the plan here? What is the game plan? Kansas State, obviously. BYU, I even thought it. I was like, are we a passing team? Or are we running it every three straight downs and hoping that we're getting a first? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then again, there were some great game plan games. Oklahoma, easiest game plan ever. That's the worst rush defense in the history of college football. Just run it right down their throat. Kansas had a good game plan. Iowa State had a really good game plan. TCU had a good game plan. And all that's to say that the bad ones, you were like, well, what the heck? Like, we just had a great game plan last week against Oklahoma. What is this that we're putting out here against Kansas State? So I think that's a bigger reason to blame than Blake Shapen. I think the third down defense is bigger to blame. I think the lack of consistent defense, mostly enforcing turnovers, is more to blame. Honestly, I'm not calling for anything to happen to this guy. Dave Aranda deserves more blame. And I think he would probably agree with me. when he says in the press conferences, yeah, after a loss, I didn't think our guys were ready this week. And that's on us. That's on the coaches. We heard that 3 or 4 times this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, when does that correction get made? Or things like, I didn't know that we had the leadership to win this year. Okay, part of that's personnel, but also like, what are the coaches doing? Why don't they have this team ready to play? And that happened a couple of times this year. So, this is not the let's fire Dave Aranda, put a for sale sign on his house. And it's also not, Dave Aranda only won because of Matt Rule's guys. But he deserves some blame from this. So Blake Shapen being the scapegoat is so easy, but it doesn't tell nearly enough of the story. It tells 10% of the story.
Defense in the bottom third. We mentioned it yesterday. Defense in the bottom third against the pass and the rush, which I don't know if you knew this.
And the first half of the season, they were very good statistically. So that is damning, by the way.
Yeah, against the rush especially. It's telling too that opposing teams can only throw and run. So when those are the two things you're not very good at defending, that doesn't bode well. I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to give myself a little bit of grace here. Look, this is nuts. This is insane. I stumbled upon this today. Blake Shapen, I talked about how I was defending him for a long time. Well, one of the reasons why, his September included 773 yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He did pretty well. He was sacked 8 times, too. Oddly high.
That was the issue. That was the issue. He holds the
offensive
ball
line, okay?
Yeah.
Take you to November now. He throws for roughly the same amount of yards, 3 touchdowns instead of 7, and 5 interceptions instead of 1, and he's only sacked 5 times. He just, by the end of the year, he regressed. He literally got
competition
worse.
And
the whole year, it's like, all right, 1 week, it's going to click for him. He's getting more and more experience, and he's inexperienced. Give him time. So typically, it's linear enough that you don't completely tank at the end of the year statistically.
And it broke you on Friday. I could see that.
It did.
And I understand that.
Look, his QBR in October was a 153. His QBR in November was a 110. That's not good. He threw that pick against Texas, and I said, all right, it was fun. That's
Here we go. Yep.
4 of his 10 interceptions came in the fourth quarter, too. Almost 50%.
That offensive line, we said before the season, was going to be one of the best offensive lines in the country, right?
Was it not?
They stumble out of the gates. But here we sit, almost about to be December, the end of the regular season. You'd be a fool to say they're not one of the best offensive lines in the country. And had a better running game than I thought they were going to have. Or more talented runners than I thought they were going to have.
Yes.
And yet, we sit here at 6-6. Yeah, man, I agree with you in that he regressed. And any second-year guy, mostly in college and in the NFL, you're waiting for that, not just a step up, but like a big step up.
Yeah.
And we just haven't seen that with Blake. And I'm not like, let's ditch him. Let's throw him out the side of the boat. But if there's a better option, I'd love to see it at this point. And I mean that like totally genuinely. I did learn my lesson in 2020 because I was one of those people with the megaphones calling for Zeno the whole season. And he was not ready to play when they put him in. I was the one. I was the one. And he wasn't ready to play, and he ends up transferring. He wasn't good enough to play here, to be totally honest with you, to be the starting quarterback. Yeah. And so
– yeah, those 2 good passes.
It is our job some of the time to like have opinions and second guess the coaches and all that. So not saying that we can't do that, but I was like, maybe they do see a little bit more than I do every day. And so I'm like, maybe Kyron Jones just isn't ready. I think he's got a bunch of talent. Totally do. And if there's an opportunity for him to play in the bowl game, I'm here to watch it. I'm here to see what we got. But he is still a sophomore, Shapen. It is his first season starting. Again, I hate to use that excuse because it's 12 games, and here we are, and he got worse. But someone brought up a great point the other day, Drake. I wish I could give credit to someone, but I honestly don't remember who it was. It was on the great Twitter Bird app.
Of course.
And they said, look
was
at
it Elon?
They said, look at Blake Shapen's. No, there wasn't any guns or caffeine-free Diet Coke in the tweet. They said, look at Shapen's numbers this year versus Max Duggan's numbers his first year as a starter. 4 years later, Duggan is a legitimate Heisman candidate. I don't think he'll be there, but let me read this out to you. Okay. 2019. 53% completion percentage.
God.
That's bad. And he played the whole season, basically. So worse completion percentage, worse yards per attempt, less touchdowns, same number of interceptions, and a worse rating than Blake Shapen this year. How about 2020? It's a COVID season. It's all conference games, but Max Duggan's got a year under his belt. He's the starting quarterback. He's the guy. Completion percentage, worse than Blake Shapen this year. Yards, worse than Blake Shapen this year. Average yards per play, lower than Blake Shapen this year. Touchdowns, lower than Blake Shapen this year. Less than Blake Shapen this year. Interceptions, way less. But still, I digress. Same rating. And 2 years later, he's a Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
And reasonably so, completing 67% of his passes and throwing for 3,000 yards, 29 touchdowns to 3 picks. Am I saying Blake Shapen's going to do that? Absolutely not, because I don't know. But he could. He could. The Max Duggan numbers say the same. And we'll talk about another guy that I'm not dragged, but people brought up some legitimate points to me earlier today on Twitter yesterday on Twitter when you're listening. But we've seen this movie. It happens quite often in college football. But yeah, Blake Shapen wasn't that good this year.
So what you're saying is
I'm agreeing with you.
You're saying that Blake Shapen's not going to be good next year either. And
probably not. But
2024 also might get benched, actually.
Yeah,
and then against
great.
all odds, he comes back in 2025.
Beats the Auburn Tigers. Hugh Freeze's Auburn Tigers week 1 at McLean in 2025. And leads Baylor to the playoff.
Yes.
So that's something to look forward to.
So all you
I know. And that is the caveat. That is the downside, is it took Duggan a while.
Long time.
Duggan wasn't a bang average quarterback. And so I'm just saying, give
the kid 5 years.
Some guys are late bloomers, dude.
Give the kid 5 years.
Some guys get the voice cracks when they're 19. They're just a little behind on things. I wouldn't want to go through what TCU went through.
Yeah, that would mean
I'll take the playoff berth,
not with the program too. So you got a lot of ins and outs to your little Max Duggan comparison there.
Yes, I just thought it was interesting, Drake.
You mentioned
I like an interesting take with zero conviction to it. That's what I
Come after me. I have no basis. Come after me.
The Tom Herman Twitter thing yesterday of, look, I don't want to get rid of Grimes, but this is freaky, man.
Just showing you guys
resume.
this.
He's got an awesome resume. Max Duggan. It took 4 years, but look, man, his numbers were the same.
See what happened?
Maybe it'll only take 3 because Blake's numbers are better than
all of you out there that are saying Blake Shapen is just Charlie Brewer, stop doing Charlie Brewer like that. He's top 5 in every statistical category for quarterbacks at Baylor. He is on the Mount
history, man.
On the Mount Rushmore of Baylor quarterbacks. No, he's not. I hate you. He
probably is actually.
He is.
He's 4th, but
yes, but literally statistically, you can't argue it. It's just like
number 1, JJ Joe, friend of the program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
2. I don't know. This
Don
is
Troll.
Yes.
Don Troll. 3, Nick Florence.
No, 3, Sean Bell.
True.
4, Charlie Brewer.
Shapen.
And we're not leaving anybody off.
Yep.
5, tough 5. Brewer Shapen looks similar enough that you kind of just chisel a nose a little bit differently, and then you call it both. Number 12 underneath that.
True.
This episode today is brought to you by BetOnline.net. BetOnline is where the game starts. Go right there to start the game. It's like you literally... The game hasn't started yet because you won't go to BetOnline. Everybody else is sitting here waiting for it, and it hasn't started because you're not there. BetOnline on the mobile. It's on the mobile, on your cellular device. You can go there right now and look at it. Speaking of, I need to get a new phone. I need to do that pretty soon. BetOnline, it has spreads and lines and podcasts, and you can bet online via BetOnline. All of that and more, BetOnline.net. It's where the game starts. Use your computer, use your phone, use your iPad, any of the things that you use that do internet, and it's going to pull it up. BetOnline.net. That's for you. Cam, Baylor, you projected Baylor to go to a bowl. You said Mississippi State, which I feel like they're a little too good for the Liberty Bowl.
Well, if we're being honest and talking about this podcast, I pretty much predicted them to go to the Sugar Bowl.
Mississippi State or Baylor?
Baylor.
Oh.
But this week, I projected them to play Mississippi State in the Liberty
Things
Bowl.
changed fast, man.
Yeah. I don't know the algorithm too well, to be honest with you. I was like, this is one of the ones they could go to. What if they faced Mike Leach? They're also 6-6. That would be fun.
They're 8-4. But
they're 8-4?
They're 8-4.
As soon as I said 6-6, I thought 7-5, and I was wrong about that.
So yeah,
that is this podcast. I think bring me on.
Mathematically, Mississippi State couldn't play in the Liberty Bowl, which is fine. By the way, that's fine. You're just you're having ideas. At least you tried.
I think I literally just looked at what the matchups were, conference. I didn't want to go and see who everyone was predicting because I didn't want to feel like that.
It's cheating.
But just okay, the matchups here. Mississippi State's not great, but they're going to a bowl game. It's the same with us.
Joke's on you. They are great. They're 8-4, unlike some teams that we cover.
Great.
Yeah, you Baylor fans, that's a national championship for some of us here. Because 6-6 is glorious. The bowl game that Baylor plays in will almost assuredly be December 28th, 29th, or 30th.
That's where you want to play, baby.
Yep, that's your day. That's when everybody is real excited to watch football. That the first couple bowl games are always great to me because it's like your BYU and Army, and you're just yes,
and it's December 17th.
Football's back, yes, and then it goes to you get one little taste of the Capital One Bowl, and you get something good in there, and you're like, all right, that's pretty good too. And then it goes into a bunch of random just crap bowls.
I love a good Tuesday afternoon bowl though.
Yeah, just like a Washington State, just like a Washington State versus a Vanderbilt. And you're like, oh yes.
It's Northern Illinois and SMU.
Maction, baby. Maction. And SMU's like a 17-point favorite. But here comes the Northern Illinois round game. Bowl season. And the shirts, man. I wish I had some of these shirts from the 2006 Eastern Michigan versus FIU. I want that shirt in the Poinsettia Bowl.
Dude, I almost got the Russell Athletic Bowl jacket, which would have been fantastic.
So for Baylor, they will not be playing FIU. Heck, they minded this. 6-6 is actually 6-6 is the worst
how it's
record.
All going to be SEC teams.
Yes, and Big 12 teams.
All but one of them were going to be an SEC matchup.
8 Big 12 teams too that have made a bowl game, which is wild. Meaning there are a bunch of 6-6 Big 12 teams that got to go somewhere. So your Baylor Bears, don't look now, might end up. This is one of the more popular ones that pop up today. They might end up in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. You thinking your rate's going to change? Nope. Hello, Maryland Terrapins and the worst brother. Yeah, the less good brother in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Yes. I'll be on the East Coast. Give me a 10:30 Eastern kickoff. Maryland's wearing the worst uniforms you've ever seen in your life. And Tua's brother throws 3.5 picks.
And Baylor's wearing yellow on yellow on yellow, just mustard. And it is, one's watching it.
19 points.
No one's at the game, and the final score is 19-0. Baylor doesn't throw the ball one time.
It's at the Bob, and there's 2,000 people there.
And it's freezing because it's nighttime in Arizona in December.
I love
it's snowing.
That Cactus Bowl, though.
This is the Cactus Bowl.
I know, 2016, that Cactus Bowl. Green, gray, green. I think it was the only time they wore that. It was bad.
People forget.
And
green, gray, green.
The crap out of a ranked team.
1-0.
Katie Cannon had 30 catches.
So that might happen. The Liberty Bowl is also in play, which I would love, by the way. Big Liberty Bowl guy. I grew up near
That's close for you, man.
Close, Memphis.
Yeah.
Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl or Arkansas in the Texas Bowl is also on the table, too. So I think
Memphis
the Texas
is the biggest city in Arkansas.
The Texas Bowl, yes, would be the biggest win for Baylor. If Baylor's going to get a win here in the postseason, it's getting an invite to the Texas Bowl. Please, dear God.
Your prediction entirely, actually, would be the biggest one.
Was mine the Texas Bowl?
I think so.
Yes.
Arkansas is the opponent.
Texas Bowl against Arkansas. 2 6-6 teams, SEC and Big 12. Why not? Who says no? Who says no? Kendall Bryles. who they hate, by the way. They hate him.
Talk about regression, man. I mean, that's a different podcast, but I am shocked that his career hasn't taken off. But anyway, that would be the dream. That's what happened in 2018. 6-6, but got the Texas Bowl. They did like a running of the line. They had a student section there. It was awesome. That is the best scenario you can get because no one's going to travel. No fans are really going to. T-Rex, don't tweet at me. No other fans are going to travel for the bowl game unless they're friends and family, which is great. But you go into Houston, you have an actual alumni base.
There's a group of 100 fans that would go to Phoenix for sure.
Worst case scenario.
Shout out you guys too. Don't let Cam.
Worst case scenario would be to play in another one of your alumni bases, and that's the Armed Forces Bowl or Lockheed Martin Bowl, which is the one that Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Am I right in that? That's an Amon Carter. I don't like you TCU fans, but let us have it. If we play in that bowl game and you guys are in the playoff, that's a great bragging right. Be like, you're 6-6 and playing in our stadium in a bowl game. We're playing in the playoff.
Yeah.
That would be the worst case scenario for Baylor.
Think about last year.
I wish we still had the Big 12 and the Pinstripe Bowl. That's what I need.
Consider this. This is for you, Baylor fans. Here's why you don't want to go to Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. It is last year. It is New Year's Day. And it's New Year's Eve. Tomorrow, Baylor plays Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. So you're sitting in your hotel, just clicking through games to see what's on. Oh, TCU's playing in McLean Stadium against
so great
Navy
for
a bowl game. And you're like, why are they in McLean? You know how demoralizing that is? As the Baylor staff are putting on a great neutral site game for you. That's what Baylor
as they're drilling into the wall 2021 Big 12 champions, like during the second quarter.
Yep, yeah. That's what Baylor will be playing in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl at Amon G. Carter in Fort Worth. There are a lot of fun.
TCU fans that don't make it are like in Navy whites.
Yes.
Rooting against them.
There'd be a lot of fun bowl game opportunities for Baylor. Fun for the team? I don't know.
This is our best episode ever.
Yeah, for sure. I've only done
this is
3.
Our best episode we've ever put out.
All right, our last segment doesn't have a reader, so I'm just going to do our last segment. Cam, the transfer portal is here.
Oh, it's going to get even better, baby.
I am in it, by the way.
How about that?
I got an email from a talent director yesterday, and they want me to be in a commercial. This is a true story. They want me to do a voiceover for an MCC commercial, McLennan Community College commercial. So,
hey, great people at MCC. Always loved the people I worked with over there.
My NIL money is in. That's it. It's over. I think I'm gonna have to commit to McLennan Community College through the transfer portal. I was floored how many people entered the portal day one. I say floored, crazy, but man. Just wow. It's a carousel.
It literally is NBA free agency now. Like July 1st, bang. More so than any other sport. Like it's open. It's done.
Yes. And every guy that enters, the immediate conversation is like, oh, well, he's going to Baylor. But that's every fan base too. It's just the comments are all,
oh yeah,
go Buffalo. Or whatever your mascot is, your favorite mascot is. Almost the Baylor mascot, by the way. They were almost the Buffalo.
That's true.
No one from Baylor transferred. That's a good thing, right?
That's a very good thing. That's actually a very positive sign. And that's something for the people even more negative than you, of which there are a few.
So the guys are not winning. They're not winning a lot of games, but they're having fun. The guys are having fun.
I think it's deeper than that, Drake. I think they buy into the message. That's what I'm going with. No, seriously. Like, they've got it. Would have been, again, a lot of young guys, skill positions. They've put something on tape, and they want to be like, you know what? I want to play for Jeff Grimes next year. I want to play for Dave Aranda next year. I want Blake Shapen to be my quarterback. There's something to be said for that. Again, it's not the worst season Baylor's ever had, but it is disappointing in that you started number 10 and had all these expectations and went 6-6, and yet here we are. The wheels are firmly on this train. By the way, how many guys left 6-6 Oklahoma today?
Oh,
the answer, like a couple. I don't actually know, but
they are estimating the University of Arkansas has like a 40-person exodus, and That's football. That's Dallas.
That is football to a certain extent these days.
Yes. It's going to happen at Arkansas. It's going to happen at Oklahoma. It's going to happen everywhere in America, except for your private Christian university, Baylor University, crown jewel of the Brazos. These guys are going to stay. They believe.
They're staying in Tech because they're building a new end zone.
Yeah. They have Joey McGuire, man. They also beat Oklahoma, finished with a better Big 12 record and a better overall record than the Baylor Bears.
Yeah. At first, I was watching that game, and I was like, awesome. We beat both of these teams in their barn. And then I remembered, oh, wow, Joey McGuire is going to be the first Tech coach ever to beat UT and OU in the same season. And, oh, yeah, Tech's going to finish ahead of us. You know why? Because they beat the Texas Longhorns, and we didn't. Hudson Card's Texas Longhorns, but the Texas Longhorns nonetheless.
Yeah.
And that awesome feeling you and I had walking out of Norman with a victory, which is still an awesome feeling.
That was good.
But they just lost to Texas Tech.
They did lose to Texas Tech. And in a pitiful way, too. We've got a big lead, and now we don't anymore.
Yeah,
Texas Tech just beat
care.
us.
Yeah.
Again,
Transfer
adding
portal.
to the disappointing season Baylor had in 2022. Do you want to do an episode later this week about Matt Rule getting hired in Nebraska?
I think we owe it to our Nebraska people.
It was funny. I tweeted something completely unrelated to Matt Rule, and someone responds, "What are your thoughts on Matt Rule to Nebraska?" And then another person responds to them and says, "We don't care anymore. He's gone." And I was like, "Who's this we?" Why? Yeah. Thanks for standing up for me and telling him how I feel.
Drake
That's
does
right.
not care. Get off his butt. He doesn't care.
Matt Rule is gone.
I mean, I don't really care, but
no more.
yeah.
Do you think that like you told a Nebraska fan tomorrow, it was Chris Platt, right? Wasn't it Chris Platt that wanted to transfer?
Yes.
If you went to a Nebraska fan tomorrow and told them the Chris Platt story, what would they say? No, humbug. That's not even true.
Did you cite two sources?
Of course he would say that. The guy probably hated him. He's a great coach. That's how they sound in Nebraska. Midwesterners.
I don't know what that was. You know what I have to say to that?
This has been?
What I have not got over is some people talked about Baylor is QB and school some of you haven't. Okay? Even been to college or played in anything, this page is not the same as people as last year. One thing, the one that talk about young people like that, I feel sorry for yours if you have any. That's what I have to say to that.
Cam, what does that mean?
If you don't know, keep it to yourself, okay? If you don't know what that means, what was said, keep those feces to yourself. Okay?
She had a point. If you don't know what Cam's talking about, go to his Twitter.
What? Me? I just said it.
I'm sure he'll pin it. That's such a good message. The young people, man.
It's
the
actually
young people.
like genuinely, I don't hate it. Like, it's so funny. That is the best interaction I think I've ever gotten.
It's so outlandish. Why would you say something so controversial, but so true?
And then say, you know what? You don't like it? Napoleon, you can leave. Okay?
Just
Awesome.
get out of here,
I'm
man.
taking my ball. I'm going home. I said what I said. I quote what I quote. Okay? If you don't like it, get the hell out.
You can't. You're not catching my drift. And then the best part is someone else comments underneath it.
Caught the drift.
Agreed.
Agreed. Hard. Yes.
Spot on.
Let's go.
Yes.
Is that the best? No, that is the best part. Second best part is, hypothetically, if this were a comment on Facebook, it would have been under a pretty positive story. That's the second best part.
Agreed.
That it's a positive story about, hey,
agree with
guys,
you.
don't give up yet. Like, we've got the bowl game. Those are fun. You know what?
Oh.
I'm sick of this people and quarterbacks in the college. Okay?
Oh. For everybody out there, John Garcia Jr. is coming on the show tomorrow to talk about the transfer portal. This has been, don't miss tomorrow's show, Locked On Baylor.